session presented by CrowdRiff, please welcome the Vice President of Marketing at CrowdRiff, Kash Miah, in discussion with Skift branded content editor Darren Frei.
So you're getting some free content out of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a topic we're going to be talking about, so might as well.
Nice. Thanks for joining us, Kash. So here we are. It's 2023, and short-form video content is pretty much everywhere. I know a lot of us are engaging with it, and some of us have a hard time putting it down. I, for one, can't resist scrolling for 1 or 10 more TikTok videos before bedtime. But in terms of marketing, short form has become this must-have, and it's really the gist of the Megatrend article that we worked on with CrowdRiff. That's coming out today at 5 p.m. For those in the audience, check out skift.com. But let's get into it. With HubSpot recently did a survey, and according to social marketers, 50% plan to leverage short-form video for the first time this year, and 95% plan to increase or maintain their investment, those who haven't used it. What is it about short form that's so compelling?
Yeah, I mean, those are pretty compelling stats, right? If you're a DMO and you're doing it for the first time, it's a fascinating space to be in. I think what's amazing about short form video, and you can see some examples on the screen, is just the way you interact. So if you're a traveler, you kind of have an idea of how to interact with that content. We're consumers. But if you're a DMO, you want to meet the traveler where they are. And so what short-form video allows you to do is take all of this information and put it in a format that the traveler already understands. 30-second video, 15-second video, 60-second videos, right? And these examples are great because you kind of get a feel for how you can bring that traveler into a specific destination. And it's not working, but you kind of get a feel for it, right? And I think what's amazing about that format is that it can be done in very creative ways. It can be done in a way that allows the traveler to feel like they're there. And I think for us, like, we are trying to let DMOs know and work with them, partner with them so that they understand what's possible. If you look at the current platforms, the Googles, the Facebooks, TikToks, like they're all trying to go after the same format. Everyone's trying to tackle this one format and trying to be the dominant player in that space. So the format's not going anywhere, even though it's been around for a few years. If anything, for the DMOs, it's relatively new. Mm-hmm. They're just tapping into it. And some DMOs have already been experimenting with it. Some have experimented with YouTube Shorts. But not everyone has the resources or the capabilities to get into that space. So while the format is great, there are some challenges that come with that as well. The example that I often talk about when you think about inspiration and bringing the traveler into a specific destination. A couple of years ago, I went to Cape Town, South Africa, with my wife, and we had lunch on top of this mountain, but you had to climb up the mountain. So you take this little trip and you go all the way up there. And once you're sitting there, you kind of get a view of the public gardens, and it's amazing. But it's that journey getting up there, and to highlight something like that as a DMO, to be able to capture that and share it with another traveler that's coming, that's ultimately where you want to get at. So when we think about our top travel destinations or our best trips, it's the ones that you've taken that journey along the way and those hidden gems that stay with you. And so I think that's why this format works so well, is because DMOs are able to bring the traveler into that space.
Yeah, it's all about conveying that authenticity, right? And I know looking at these videos, it reminds me that this is the way we all traveled vicariously during the pandemic. And DMOs are they're looking for ways to capitalize on that new behavior. So let's look at some of the challenges that are currently facing DMOs right now. With work from anywhere, more and more destinations are competing. Resource and staffing challenges are becoming more commonplace. And then destinations are just having a hard time keeping up with the pace and the volume of content needed to drive engagement. So with all of that in mind, how can short-form video address these challenges?
Yeah, and we talk to a lot of DMOs, and we hear often those challenges, right? And those challenges might persist this year and even into next year. What short-form video does is it sort of gives you content that can be repurposed across a variety of different channels, and channels are starting to pop up every year. YouTube Shorts has been around for a year, maybe a year and a half max, and they've already got over 1.5 billion people viewing content, right? So to see that sort of trajectory over the last year is tremendous. So as a DMO, there are a number of challenges, but what we try to tell our DMO partners is the best way to get that content, the best way to sort of collaborate and figure out the type of content that's relevant to you is work with local content creators. And so part of our localhood offerings that we partner a DMO with local creators, and they're not creators who we would consider influencers. They don't have a large following. They're not trying to make money off their influence. They're just passionate folks who live in your specific destination, who are really excited about promoting that destination where they live. And so we partner that creator with the DMO, and we want to make sure that the content they produce works really well for the needs of that DMO partner. And often we get this like really authentic content, and that content is really valuable. And so for us, it's how do we connect more DMOs with local content creators? And the best part about the local content creators, and I think this is the stat here, is content that's actually made by the creator versus DMOs publishing their own content gets 65% more views. And we kind of know this as we're consuming content as travelers, but when you are a DMO, you don't see that. You feel like you need to create your own content. You feel like you need to create these polished videos, but ultimately the traveler wants to experience where they're going to go, and you want to make sure the content you provide actually meets them in the middle.
Yeah, and I think the 65% is an interesting stat. I mean, I think part of what's driving that is the fact that younger generation, Generation Z, a lot of younger travelers prefer to search on social platforms over Google. But of course, we shouldn't count Google out because after all, they're Google. And they are prioritizing their own short form content, ramping up YouTube Shorts, prioritizing visual search. So with that in mind, why is having a short form presence on Google such an important thing to do?
Yeah, the thing about a lot of these social platforms like TikTok and Reels is the content is very inspiring. It gets a traveler to think about a particular destination they may want to visit. You're searching for inspiration. But what it's lacking is actual information to get that traveler from being sort of like a researcher onlooker to bookings. And this is the advantage Google has. This is their core product. They've always been able to get a person who's searching into a booking a specific destination. So what they're doing now, and I think you can see it in the video as you see the scrolling happening, is they're bringing a lot of that short form content, the format that actually engages travelers, the format that all of us as consumers are constantly engaging on a regular basis, and bringing that into search, where most people start their journey for travel, where they want to go, where they want to stay. And so when you combine the two, you get this really powerful short-form video content in search, and you're able to see the destination in a different way. And not only that, but for the DMO and the destination specifically, you're getting content in search, and you're getting this valuable information I mentioned earlier that you're not getting on the social platforms, like a link to your website or a map or just content about that particular destination. And so it becomes that much more powerful for the traveler as they go into that journey. The other side of it is you get some SEO benefits. The content gets absorbed and crawled by Google. So what we've done is our localhood product, so the second part of that product is you publish your short-form video to localhood. And when you do that, Google actually crawls all of that content and assigns it with specific keyword terms. So if you're searching for something that's near me, you might get that content populated. So a traveler goes through the search, visual stories pops up, you see the same format that you're seeing every day on Instagram and TikTok, and you go through that. And then there's call to action. It takes you to a website. And so if I'm a DMO, I'm looking at that and seeing the value of not just providing that same format that I can publish in all these different channels, but getting the benefits of Google and making sure that I can build that relationship with the traveler from search all the way to booking. And as DMOs, and we've heard this many times, they want to build that relationship with the traveler. They would hate to lose it to a third-party travel booking site, but this sort of content allows them to repurpose it across social channels. But in this case, more importantly, publishing it to localhood and getting in front of Google, you're reaching the traveler at different points of that journey, whether it's at the beginning, middle, or when they're ready to actually make a booking.
So I know some examples just popped up on screen. Wondering if you could just walk us through some of these. I know these are destinations partnering with local creators to create engaging content. Why don't you just share with us?
These are examples of destinations that we partnered with local creators. I'd say like the first thing if you're going to take away anything from this conversation, the first thing would be it's video. Like there's no way around it. Like if you're trying to come up with other types of media, it's going to be really hard. And we get the challenges of video to create it, and that's why we're up here and we're having this conversation on how to actually solve that particular problem. But it's the short form video format that's resonating with travelers and consumers. So you want to be able to tap into that. The second part is actually working with local creators. It's hard. Sometimes we often misconstrue creators with influencers, but creators are the folks who actually spend time in their neighborhoods, who are looking to do create great content and highlight their neighborhood. So how can we connect DMOs with more creators to be able to produce amazing content so they can get more travelers coming into their destination? The third one, I think the example here is the third screen here is actually creating content that's diverse. Diversity is a term that gets thrown around very loosely, but when we look at it from a travel point of view for a DMO, it's allowing everyone to be excited to come to your destination. And the example here, the pumpkin patch, they highlighted the wheelchair accessibility, and it's really important for them, and it's important for DMOs to think about those little things. You might not have that information on your website, but someone might be scrolling, searching on Google or scrolling on social, they come across that. It sort of changes the way they might think about a particular destination. And it's always those little things to keep in mind. And then the last point is, I'm a marketer. I've worked at Shutterstock for a few years. I know stock imagery and all about creating like polished content. At the end of the day, it's the content that is as authentic as possible that's going to drive awareness. You can create all the videos you want from Shutterstock stock images. It's going to work if you're a marketing team. You hit that checkbox and it's all done. But at the end of the day, the traveler is who's going to make that decision. So you want them to be able to see themselves in that destination. So that's why it's really important to tap into this format, because it does provide all that information in a condensed format that is easily consumable.
Great, great. I think we're out of time, but Kash, hey, thanks for sharing with us. Time to plan a trip to California.
Yeah.
If you'd like to learn more about CrowdRiff's local hood solutions, scan the QR code or visit crowdriff.com/localhood. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.